Alrighty, so we're good?
Yes, we're good.
Brought to you by some guys on the internet.
This is Getting Tabled.
With your hosts Jason the Bruce,
You guy!
George the Yank,
I hope you're all entertained by my inaptitude.
Jason aka Major Socks.
We've been doing this and talking about various stuff. One of the stuff.
Now sit back, relax, and get tabled.
Hello, future people, and welcome to episode 92 of Getting Tabled with your host, the 40-year-old Bruce.
Hello, folks. I'm back. No more hangover. I want to hope not. It's been 2 weeks. Still can't walk properly, but that's another story we'll get into later. And we have George. How are you, George?
I'm doing good. I would have been highly impressed if you had a 2-week hangover. I would have... That's worthy of the 40th right there. We do not have a Major Socks tonight. Apparently there's like family vacationing, something like that. What
Major Socks is just a giant disappointment to everybody. It's okay. We're used to it.
So, but yeah, so I don't think we have any prerequisite stuff. So straight on into the news.
Pretty much.
Newly received or noteworthy information, especially about recent or important events.
And we're starting off with what is probably the most surprising role-playing game I've ever seen. Sorry, it's not a role-playing game. It's a curricular medieval reenactment program. So
I love the fact that they've done that.
Oh, yeah. Everything about this campaign is lent very, very heavily into the Monty Python-esque nature of it. For those that are not aware, this is one of the 2 sources for where my nickname comes from, because we have 2 Jasons, and one of us, we needed to separate us somehow. So I was the Bruce because I'm from Australia. So, Monty Python's curricular medieval reenactment program. And I love the fact that they've written role-playing game and then crossed it out and said, no, it isn't underneath. Everything about the way they're doing this really feels Monty Python-esque. They've really lent into this very hard, which is good. There's multiple different options for backing this. Why are we starting with a Kickstarter rather than leaving it to the end? Because it's Monty Python. It deserves to be at the front.
Bruce, it's Monty Python.
That's what I said.
Yeah, but you didn't watch me say it, so you didn't see me mouth an expletive.
Oh, right. Okay. Sorry. There's also a Madcap backgammon-based minigame called Fascia Lavash, which I just love. I also love that I can actually finally know how you're supposed to write that.
So, my curiosity here is did the surviving members of Monty Python, did they sit down with these guys and be like, no, you got to do this, or well, that's brilliant, you should do this too? Like, were they contributors? I would hope so, because you got John Cleese around. Like, pick his brain while it's still there to be picked.
I don't know how much he'd be able to help from a gaming point of view. I'm genuinely saying I don't know.
Yeah,
I know that up until maybe 15 years ago, it was him and his ex-wife that used to do 90% of his business. It is handled from outside now, but at the time when our old theatre company approached about doing the Faulty Tower play, it was actually his wife that we had to approach for it. Like, literally his wife. So, yeah. As for everything else, it's just... Monty Python in nature is something that can be very, very, very silly, but at the same time, Monty Python in nature will also tell itself off for being very, very silly, and they've actually worked this into the mechanics as well. If you get about a third of the way down the page, you'll see a list of dice of a serious and silly scale, where basically, depending on how serious the game is at the time, depends on what sort of dice you're actually using. So in this particular case, there's a D4, D6, D8, D10, D12, D14, D16, D18, and D20. 3 of those I'd never seen until now. I knew they existed, I'd just never seen them. There's also
and a D30.
Yeah, I was going to say there's also a D30 later on as well. Like I said, everything about this is very, very silly. We've got the Black Beast of Arg, the Dragon of Agnor. There's our D30.
I'm sorry, the DM screen is absolutely amazing.
Trying to remember what the DM screen looks like.
Head of Light entertainment screen.
Oh, yes, that's right. Yep. Okay, editions. There's a sensible middle class edition because it's Monty Python. You must take the Mickey out of the class system. It's the law. There's
You missed the Bloody Peasant edition.
Did I? Oh, no, I'm going through on the actual page. Sorry, never mind. Yes, there is a Bloody Peasant edition, which is your digital version. There's also a public school edition, which is the exclusive for the Kickstarter. This is a fake leather cover, basically. Otherwise, it's essentially the same-ish. Like I said, there's Fesha Lavash, which is the little mini-game that they have done as well. It's literally backgammon, but they are actually kind of making a couple of different things with this. We've got our custom die sets. There's the Head of Light entertainment screen that George already mentioned. Merit and demerit tokens. And we get down to our tiers. I don't actually remember what one I'm on at the moment. I am backing this at this stage. I think I've just got the book because I'm kind of tight on money at this stage. I love that there's an In My Day bundle. What was that, sorry?
So you're on the sensible middle class bundle?
I think so. I don't remember.
Because then
I'm
there's
not logged in, so I don't remember.
Oh, then there's the less sensible middle class bundle.
Yeah, which is everything but with the old book.
I love the top tier of the one. Upper class twit bundle.
Yeah.
Which, that's the all in, so.
Pretty much. The only one above that is the shop owner tier, which is obviously completely different anyway. And then we get into the very Monty Python-esque list of stretch goals, which is all pipes and silly hands, and it's all very, very silly. So basically, the way that this is supposed to work is if the DM is actually part of the game in a very serious way, where if things seem to be going too silly, the DM can force the players to be less serious, and the DM can actually indicate on their DM screen how serious or silly he's expecting the party to be at any given time. So it's kind of something that you can move around and engage with your group for your own entertainment as well as their own. Because you can force them to dance like force them to dance like the monkeys that they are. The players, I mean. I love the fact that there's a dice catapult. That's possibly my favorite stupid thing I've ever seen. It's just really dumb, but I've got all the time in the world for it. As for the original team, I don't know if there's been any work from them on this. I would be surprised if there was, because they don't really have much in the way of a gaming background that I know of. There'd have to have been some talk about how they would want the project to be used and so forth, but I just genuinely don't know. But this is something I have all of the time in the world for a number of reasons. Monty Python is, even though it comes before us, it's still something that's very much of our generation, because our generation picked this up from our parents. Although my parents never had any time for it. I discovered it for myself.
Yeah, so I would say it's like a Rocky Horror Picture Show-esque. Like, it really wasn't like our generation. It became cult classic for our generation.
Yeah. The movies helped. The movies helped.
For sure. Yeah, the TV show is just, you want to talk about weird and really bizarre and off the wall? Holy cow.
Well, we're still seeing comedy ripping it off today, quite literally.
Well, yeah. No, I'm not going to disagree with that. I'm just saying, like, the level of absurdity, even for back then, was absurd.
I would go as far as to say that every comedy that's existed ever since owes its money to Monty Python because they pretty much laid the path for them. Now, but it's not to say, because somebody's going to be in the comments arguing this, Monty Python took from other people as well, largely a radio show that fails me right now. But
Yeah.
I'm not saying that they are the key, that they are the gods of comedy, even though they are. No,
I'm not going to disagree with you. I'll dial it back. I'll say at least 75% of all comedy is directly responsible because of what Monty Python has done. The other thing I'm going to point out here that I think is really cool. So the game is fully unlocked at $1 million.
Yep.
They have 1.5 million. They were looking for 200,000. There's 19 days to go.
Yeah, this was funded in under an hour. Exalted Funeral are a company that's been around for a little while. I'm not overly familiar with a lot of their work, but they have been around for a while. You can go in and have a look at some of the stuff that they've done previously. They were responsible for the old Essentials RPG boxes that you see in stores occasionally now. That's probably the only thing on that list that I actually know.
So I'm going
it's a lot
through
of very indie stuff.
You'll need to go through and look at this, right? So the unlock tree, right? So you got $200,000, $3, $250,000, $277,777. Right?
Oh, I didn't even really look at that. That's amazing.
They're
so random.
Scroll down. You'll know which one I'm talking about when I say scroll down.
$666,666 or pounds, sorry. Oh, that's amazing.
So,
and then everything after that is just on pen and paper.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So there we go. That's that. Like I said, I'm a huge fan of this. I kind of am surprised that nobody's done it before. I mean, there's been Monty Python games before, but it's been more not video. It's been more board game stuff. But even there's not really been a lot of it. Been a lot of DVDs. Moving on. TT Combat have been hinting at their paint range for quite a while. We have had rumours of this coming for quite a while. It has hit Kickstarter. It funded in under 24 hours, which I think is a record for TT Combat. I don't know as far as numbers is concerned, but I don't think they've had something this significant unlocked that quickly. So, this is a full paint line. This is a standard paint line. It's not specifically designed for airbrush or specifically designed as a contrast. It's a traditional paint line, as you would expect. This has been displayed on their Twitch channel for at least the last few months. And leading up to that, they were kind of going through other paint brands and using them and kind of talking about what they do like and what they don't like so that they can incorporate that into their own actual line. We've got a full list here of the paints that are being used. And the big thing, of course, and we actually mentioned this a few episodes now, is that there are actually a few things in here that take names from the Drop universe, which is the big thing that Dave found very exciting. And I can't see any of them right now. Kefri, Shaltari Orange is probably the big one there. There is more in there, but I'm struggling.
That's okay. You struggle most of the time. It's okay.
Oh, PHR Bone. There we go. I knew there was another one somewhere. But yeah, so this is something that's very, very interesting. There is actually a wash line as well, and I like the fact that they displayed the washes by doing essentially what, let's be fair, you probably shouldn't do with watches, which is use them as a contrast paint. Like, they're not designed for it. But it does actually show what they're capable of extremely well. And it shows that they are actually just using them as washes in that case.
I was going to say the bottom left one and then the second from the right on the bottom I mean, those are, that's Agrax and Nolan, like straight
Yep.
up as far as colors. So, um, the other thing too that another game company does with their paint line, that TT Combat is not doing. Everything is in a dropper bottle.
Yes. Yeah.
That means you can screw the lid on, and your paint won't dry out.
Yeah. It's a much better way of doing business. Yeah, I can't agree with you enough on that. They have actually been up until this point, they have actually been working with a few people that they've got testimonials from. So there's like commission painters and bloggers that they've been using. There's people that obviously work for the company that have, or work with the company closely, that have given their opinions. Pledge levels, like there are some pretty standard ones. There's like just getting 2 paints for £5, which is a really good deal actually. Especially if you don't want a huge range. You've got your fairly standard looking starter set for £30, which again is fairly decent value. The full 60 core is £110, which is actually it's actually pretty good value, really.
Yeah.
It's going to be £180 at retail. Generally speaking, I'm the sort of person that tends to suggest that people are better to buy the paints they need rather than an entire line. But not everybody feels that way. And I'm not saying this in argument against TT Combat here. I'm just talking generally about the best way to do. Because the problem with buying a full line of paints is there'll be a whole heap of them that you'll just never use.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's just the way that things end up going, pretty much. And otherwise, like, we just start going through here. There's painting guides that have been unlocked. Still got a lot more to go.
So, going a little further on down, some of the add-ons, 30-pound brush set.
Which is actually really good value.
Yeah. Especially if, it's the brushes you need.
Yes.
It looks like you got small, medium, and large dry brushing, some shade brushes, detail brushes. Going on down, they have matte varnish. I've never met Matt. But for $250, he seems like a pretty decent guy. Then you got a thinning medium and then gloss varnish. So again, that's a great addition to a paint line right off the bat, because a majority of these paints, the user wants them to have them matte, be flat, and that's what I like about Scale 75. I have not seen a madder paint line than Scale 75.
Yeah.
But some of those details, you want a little bit of a pop to it, a little bit of a shine.
Yeah.
For some reason or another. And so I think it's great that they're doing that. And of course, obviously a thinning medium.
Yeah, which is, you're going to need.
I mean, and then, because they make their own MDF terrain, hey, for £15, you can get a paint rack to hold all your paints you're going to get from them.
Yep. Quite literally. And it's literally, because it's that and the washers, it's literally going to fit everything. It's almost like it was designed for it.
What? And then you could buy 40 clear dropper bottles.
Yep. I've actually been tempted to grab some of these dropper bottles myself, actually, because they look really nice. Because you can actually get these dropper bottles for a larger price at the TT Combat website. You can also buy the larger airbrush thinner, which, like, quite frankly, anybody that's done airbrushing knows that the little bottles is not the way that you buy those. You buy them in the big. It's just, that is the way that you do it. They're actually providing a currency conversion as well, which is really helpful, especially with the way that the pound is right now. A little bit more feedback. They're doing flat rate shipping, which is good. I suspect that what's going to happen is that it'll just be shipped out along with everything else that the web store does. Flat rate shipping is what they've been doing for a long time. And then
especially
otherwise,
if you hit their 100-pound mark. So
yeah. And then otherwise, we go into the painting examples, and these are magnificent. My favorite is Mephiston because it's Mephiston. I have a huge thing for that character. But all of these look really, really pretty.
So the thing I'm actually kind of shocked about here is they weren't afraid to use that other company's, miniatures that everyone is way more familiar with as, like this is what our paint looks like.
Well, the fact is that that's what 85 to 90% of what the industry is caring about. Like, as much as we may not like it and we want the smaller guys to get bigger,
Yeah.
Games Workshop have literally an 85 to 90% market share. I do mean literally.
No, we do get an Infinity
Yeah.
dude.
That might
looks like some of the TT Combat stuff. We got Steve.
Yeah, so Steve was actually shown off on a recent post from the community tab, as was the cow. Steve is, I think, my favorite mini on RumbleSlam that I've seen for a while. I don't even really know why. He's just, I think we all need to own Steve. Everybody needs to have him.
Yeah, and then they get to a UCM Behemoth, which I love that color for that Behemoth.
Same. And a little sneaky drop of some resin scenery that we don't know about. This is not the only time this week that they've sneakily snuck that in, because they also snuck that into a Drop Zone Commander thing recently. And then a few more people talking about it. Like, obviously, these are people that they've worked with in the development of it. But they're doing some really nice work. But before I move on, I actually want to touch on a conversation, and George doesn't know about this because it happened last night just before I was sleeping. In the Carnivale Miniatures group, one of the fans actually asked why TT Combat decided to release their own paint range. And there's like a few jokey answers like because they need more money, and why does TT Combat make little wooden houses and little resin dudes? Just making a mockery of the actual question. But Louis actually gives a serious answer as well as a joking answer. Hang on. Where's his joking answers? We noticed that no one else was doing blue, so we pounced on the gap in the market. But I really liked Louis' serious answer, so I'm just going to read this out. We have a retail store with plans to roll out more, and it's best to sell our own paints in them. When people ask how to paint our vast range of models, it would be nice to recommend paints from our own company to do so. When we go to shows and bring people into our games, it would be nice to be able to point them out to our own set of paints and get models looking like the demo ones that they just tried. When our in-house painters prepare new models for release, it's nice to have them paint with our own brand. We notice pros and cons in all other brands, qualities, availability, pricing, etc., and we've tried to avoid the things that we don't like in our ranges and instead bring all of the good things under one roof. So, I mean, that's a pretty serious business answer, but it's also, it's actually the right answer.
Well, yeah, no.
As much as some people may look at it and go, well, it's obviously it's a very obvious answer to, but I don't actually think this question being asked is as silly as a lot of people was trying to make out that it was, because
here's my reasoning behind it too, as part of that serious answer, right? So Games Workshop, right?
Yep.
How do they tell you to paint this paint scheme with whatever Citadel paint they actually used?
Yeah, the whole way that they do business is to stop you from looking elsewhere.
Privateer Press.
Yep.
Warmahorde. They have their own paint line. I'm sure if you look hard enough, there's some other game company out there that probably has their own paint line or an exclusive deal with a paint line.
A lot of them do exclusive deals with the Army Painter.
Yeah, and so, the Army Painter, Zombie Side. Zombie Side had like an actual specific kit. There you go. There's the example. So for TT Combat to, drop Zone, drop Fleet, Carnivale, Rumble Slam, what's the other one I'm missing?
Drop Fleet, Drop Zone.
No, Carnivale, Rumble Slam. Is there a fifth game?
There's actually another 3, but they're not really active at the moment.
Okay.
There's Home Raiders, but you can't actually buy Home Raiders at the moment. And then there's the one where it's like the stitched up doll things. that I can't think of right now.
But so I mean, there's at least what 4 games?
Yeah,
for sure, where it's like, here's how you paint these minis with this paint that we sell,
which is a very good way of doing business because literally at this particular point in time, if TT Combat paints something up, they automatically have to recommend another company's models, another company's paints, which is defeating the purpose. Now, is there room in the industry for another paint line? I think there is, but I don't think anybody else could really do it at this. Like, we are at a point of risking saturation now.
Well, let's see. So we're gonna name the big ones, right? So we got Games Workshop, obviously.
Yeah.
We've got Army Painter.
Yeah.
We've got Scale
Vallejo.
75, Vallejo, Green Stuff World has gotten huge.
Yeah, they've got a fairly limited range, but yes.
Yeah.
Duncan has his now, which is also
Duncan has his
at
now.
retail.
TT Combat now. I mean, we're up to what, 7
AK
already?
Interactive.
Yeah, AK Interactive.
There's a lot of companies out there right now, and some of them are very big.
Well, do I have anything else hiding over here?
Private Press, P3. You mentioned it earlier.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I forgot P3. Yeah. So I mean, we're gonna look at least almost a good solid 10 different paint manufacturers. Here, let me open up Paint Rack, that wonderful app that I found all those years ago.
Mm-hmm. The one that people still ask us about.
Yes. Let's see here. Because they have all sorts of different brands.
Yep.
Manufacturers. So we got Citadel, Vallejo, Reaper, Ammo, AK Interactive, Army Painter, P3, Tamiya, Scale 75, Green Stuff World, one I can't pronounce, Arrow Color, All Clad 2, another one I can't pronounce, Apple Barrel. Never even heard of that. But,
Apple Barrel is a craft paint. Sort of.
Coat d'Arms. That's another kind of biggish one that has been around for a while. Forge World apparently does have its own separate paints from the Games Workshop Citadel line.
So I think I would say that it's fairly safe to say that this is a risky move, but I think this is one that's going to pay off because the fact that it funded as fast as it did proves that there's people out there that want this and proves that there's room for it.
Yeah.
As opposed to, I would probably argue that Duncan's, I mean, it got funded as well, but part of that is because of the following that he has.
Yeah.
People were in that because they wanted to back him. And I'm not saying that in a negative sense. I'm not saying that the product isn't good. I haven't used it. I'm just saying I think this funding as quickly as it did speaks more for the product than for the people behind them. And I'm not saying this in a negative sense towards TT Combat either. I'm just saying I think this proves that there was room for another. I don't think we could possibly have any more, though.
Well, and you could argue, what is Duncan known for? Painting.
Yes.
What is TT Combat known for? Having games, and now they have a paint line for their games.
Yeah.
Two different things.
That's why I'm saying that I feel that there's more risk behind this than the Duncan one did. Both of which, this isn't the test, though. The test is what happens once the product's out there.
Yep, for sure. So
speaking of which, that will be in May next year. So it's actually not that far off. You're only looking at 6 months.
Yeah, that's pretty close. Next on the list,
yes,
is another Kickstarter. We're gonna have a lot of Kickstarter. We should just call this the night of the Kickstarters or something. Because
no, I just started with all of these at the front just because of the way that it is.
Oh well, I threw another Kickstarter on there that I've already
you?
talked with you about. So yeah,
okay,
because I want to talk about it.
Oh, I know the one you're talking about. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so Warcry Adventures. This is the beginning of the new game for Infinity. Sorry, not Infinity. Corvus Belli. So this is their fantasy game. This particular one is a dungeon crawler. It's almost finished, this campaign, actually. It's actually getting very, very close now. It does have an app integrated into it. You don't have to use it to play. I know that there's not everybody that likes them, but it is an important part of it. This looks really, really pretty. Anybody that's been following the YouTube channel will have seen a lot of the really pretty minis in this. You're looking at a core pledge of €120, which does not work out to be $370. I'm not going to say who it was that said that. They were talking about the base game and giving it the price of the all-in pledge, which is not what it was. Now, dungeon crawlers are very much a staple in this industry. I can understand why they would want to go in this direction. This is not the side of the game that I'm interested in. I'm more interested in the war game that's going to come later. But this game looks really, really pretty. I love these minis so much. The lore behind it, it's kind of... There's a fog that kind of comes and envelops the planet, and evil things come out of this fog, and it messes with magic, and it's kind of... It feels like its own thing rather than everybody trying to rip off Lord of the Rings or fairy tales. It definitely feels like its own world, which I really appreciate. We do have add-ons that are coming already and unlocks that are coming already. Corvus Belli, they put a lot of work into their games when they go to Kickstarter. They seem to be one of these companies that are very, very, proving that there's a reason for this to be here seems to be very important to them.
Yeah. So I'm gonna say one thing about this.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the stuff I'm looking at, I feel like I'm looking at another Kickstarter that has already shipped and delivered and is sitting on my shelf.
Yep.
So, now that's not to say that Corvus Belli, we'll just do this and we'll call it good enough. We're talking about a dungeon crawler.
I'm curious as to what game you're referring to.
Massive Darkness 2.
Okay. Yep.
Now, that being said, though, we are talking a dungeon crawler. How much different can Company A make their dungeon crawler look different from Company B?
Well, the people can just turn around and say, well, yeah, but how is that not just Warhammer Quest or whatever else as well? So
you're not wrong. So, I'm sure, based off my comments, someone's like, well, Massive Darkness 2 looks like this.
Yeah.
And someone else would be like, well, that looks like this. And you're going to go back until you ultimately find the very first dungeon crawler game, and then everyone's going to be like, well, I guess this is kind of the reason why we have all these now.
Also, and I'm not just saying this because I'm trying to defend Corvus Belli. Look, I don't have a horse. I don't have a horse in this race. But everything's been done before.
Yeah.
Even my secret project is being inspired from certain things. There's nothing that hasn't been done before.
Right, and I'm not knocking Corvus Belli. I'm just saying,
I know.
I look at this and I'm like,
into context.
Yeah. So, the miniatures look great. The miniatures are different. That's and let's be honest, looking at this, it is a completely different story look from most of the stuff for MD2.
Yeah.
MD2 unfortunately had a ridiculous amount of stuff that it's literally taking up an entire shelf on its own on my shelf. Yeah. So,
this has been out there. Everybody's been talking about this because it's Corvus Belli and they can afford that sort of marketing. Look, if you're into Infinity, if you want something else, this is definitely something that's worth having a look at. I am backing this at the moment, but I'm probably going to not have it ultimately because budget-wise, I can't continue buying
Monty Python.
And that's the thing. I'm really, really interested in Warcrow, but I'm more interested in the war game than I am for the dungeon crawler because board games for me is something I struggle to get around to playing. I really, really love the look of this. And if dungeon crawlers is something that you want, I would be recommending it. But I'm probably not going to be one of the backers. And I'm only saying that for context. Because like I said, I'm not saying this because I have a horse in the race. Because it's not why I'm recommending it. Moving on. There's this little company called Games Workshop.
Never heard of
And
them.
they have this thing where they do regularly, where they release like a new version of something, and then they'll like make it stupidly ridiculous, and then stupidly make the old one completely pointless, so nobody buys it anymore. And they do it that way so that people won't complain that the old one has been replaced, which is what's happening. But they're doing it in a way where people can't moan about it. I'm saying this because one of our colleagues basically had this rant. Was it yesterday or the day before?
A couple days ago, yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? I actually really like the look of this tank. I'm not buying it. I really like the look of this tank, though. I don't necessarily have I have a problem with the power creep that Warhammer does, but I don't really have a problem with the fact that they do this. They need to sell stuff. But at the same time, I don't understand why if they're going to do this, why not just replace an old tank? It really doesn't matter. People are going to buy it, and if people have the old one and don't want the new one, it doesn't really matter. I mean, yes, you can force people to buy everything, but that's not. I mean, people are starting to turn against Games Workshop on that. It's not working anymore.
So I will say this though. When this was released, though, I did see a conversion for this one that I loved. It was the Ferrus Manisk variant.
Oh yes, where the top's been taken off.
Whoever on the internet came up with that.
Yeah. Yeah, it
Well
was
done.
brilliant. I think they've really I think it was only 2 or 3 months ago where I was saying that when they do Imperial Guard, they don't really need to do any more tanks. There's nothing really wrong with the tanks that's out there. I think this is genuinely a product that proves me wrong. I mean, this is genuinely a really nice looking tank.
So
it feels like it fits.
It does. I'm gonna argue real quick. Layman Russ has been around for a while.
Not as long as the Chimera.
Well, but Layman Russ has been around for a while.
Yeah.
And this is pretty rudimentary tech. We're not talking like, Ceramite power armor. What is going on with my camera? I was all blurry there. I think if Games Workshop is going to do this, I think they should, for the sake of the line, retire a tank. Right? Like, we had, the United States, we had the Sheridan tank for the longest time. The Sheridan was great. The Sheridan got retired, then we got the Abrams. At some point, the Abrams is going to get retired, and something else is going to replace it.
Mm-hmm.
Do the same thing, Games Workshop. Retire the Layman Russ. Now we have the Rogel Dorn. It's
what they should have done with Primaris. Is they shouldn't have made it a new line. They should have just replaced the old models.
Yeah.
And yes, do people have old stuff? Yeah, but they can still play with it. I mean, forcing it into a completely army of its own doesn't make people buy them. They buy them because they're pretty, or they don't because they don't like them. I'm in two minds about this, because you are right. I mean, retiring an old tank is not a bad thing. But rather than introduce the Rogel Dawn, I don't understand why this couldn't have just replaced the Lemon Russ as a new Lemon Russ. I mean, it's slightly smaller than the Lemon Russ, but that's fine.
So
here's
my argument
for it.
Yeah, here's my argument with that, right? If you're, just going to release it under the rules replacement, you're going to find the power gamer go out and just get the Layman Russ ones because they're smaller and they're easier to hide on the battlefield. So you're modeling for advantage at that point. Leave the Layman Russ in the rules. This is bigger than the Layman Russ.
Is it?
Oh yeah, it's bigger.
Oh, okay.
It's a size in between the Layman Russ and a Baneblade, I think.
Oh, sorry. Yes, you're right. I'm thinking of the Baneblade. Sorry. Yes, you're right.
Yeah. So if you were to just
speaking
across the board,
the Baneblade, given how old it is still really pretty. It holds up really well.
Yeah. So, but leave the Layman Russ in the rules. Stop making them all. Just leave it in the rules. Whatever. That's fine. Replace it with the Rogel Dorn. That way, there's no modeling for advantage. The Rogaldorn is a more powerful tank than the Lehman Russ. If you just were to replace, as you suggested, then you'd have people just running every single Lehman Russ they could get their hands on under these new stats, modeling for advantage because of size.
That's fair. I mean, people that have the original Rhinos do that today. Anyway, it is a problem. Moving on. There is a new Warcry box set coming out because it's a new day and therefore it needs a new release box coming. But as much as I make that joke, I really love these chameleons. These chameleons are awesome. They are so pretty.
Yeah, they do look quite good.
The disappointing thing is I love the Pteranodons as well. They're also pretty. I don't really have much positive to say about these other Tzeentch guys. These kind of look really boring to me. I don't know if they're doing something for you, but I kind of feel like these are sculpts from 15 years ago. These feel really dull. I really like one half of this box set. I don't know. They're just not doing it for me. The terrain is just extensions of the stuff that we already have. It's just to add to your.
Sorry, I pulled the headphones off real quick. What's not doing it for you?
So I really like the skinks. I really like the Pteranodons. I don't like these other jade mask wearing Tzeentch dudes.
I was gonna say I like
really
these guys more than the skinks.
Okay. It's just me then. That's fine.
Yeah. The one jade dude with the big obelisk behind his head and like the plate on his chest, with like the universe in it, that looks amazing. Now the skinks still look good, but these guys, they do it more for me.
Okay, yep, no, that's fine. This is the reason I was asking, is I wasn't sure if it was just me or not. I do like the fact that one of these guys seems to have a chisel and a hammer as his weapon. That's hilarious to me. I mean, there's this, I don't know what to call this flying tail that doesn't seem to have a head. Oh no, it does have a head. Never mind. I do like that. The flying Tzeentch monster
really
thing.
Close to look at that because it's very weird looking. Yeah.
Yeah. So there we go. That is the box set. Look, the terrain is pretty. The Warcry terrain was already pretty. That is coming. I don't believe we have a date for this yet, but it's Sundered Fate. I do like the fact that there's somebody that's going to be attacking people with a hammer and chisel. That is just all kinds of fun. Maybe my mind is being changed halfway through this conversation. All right, moving on.
War Cradle.
Yeah, so we got some releases coming from November. And this stuff is largely concentrating on expanding the box sets that have been around previously. So, we have Beyond Sturginium Skies, which is the box set that we did an unboxing for recently, which is expanding both forces. You've got little sea platforms, which I really love the sea platforms, honestly. And then otherwise, it's just expanding on both sides of the forces that come in that box.
You're not going to gush over these Colossuses?
Oh, I love the Colossuses.
Oh my god, those are amazing.
Yeah. And look, now they're even bigger. They are amazing. Like, there's a lot on this page. I'm just trying to talk about them. The smaller ships I really like as well. The Athelstan class ships are really pretty. But if we continue moving down, we also have Beyond the Hunt for Prometheus, which is the other box set, which also has giant colossuses and giant sea monster things jumping out of the water. The assault machines, I love these things. These are amazing. I do find it weird that, like, because they're solid plastic, but at the same time, there's this weird light on them that makes them look metallic. I don't quite know how they've done that. I think it's just a red light that's shining on the grey plastic.
I was gonna say I think it's a direct instead of a reflected light hitting it.
I do quite like the Vitruvian Colossus, but I think I prefer the other Colossi over these ones. Not that I'm saying that these are bad. I just like aesthetically, I prefer the other ones.
Yeah, the other ones definitely look better. I'd say the Assault Machine, followed by the first Colossus and the second Colossus, were like shock and all value in my book.
Yep. Continuing down, because again, there's a lot on this page, and I'm trying to get through them all. Well, actually, before I do, I kind of want to have a closer look at one of those set platforms. The platforms themselves appear to be somewhat interchangeable. It's a fairly standard build, but I don't mean that in a negative sense. Like, there's not a lot of pieces to this. It looks like it's going to be really easy to build, which is a good thing. And it looks like there's interchangeable pieces, so that's somewhat modular between the sets. So if you were to buy all of them, you could go crazy in the way that you build them. I kind of like that.
Yeah.
We also have the Protector Battle Fleet set, which is a new box set for one of the other forces that's coming out. So the Protector submarines are brilliant. And if you look closely, this is a Canadian force. But also, if you look closely, that's a submarine with a flight deck.
Yep.
I love that. It's not the last of a submarine with a flight deck that you're going to see, though. Continuing to go down, I really like these Canadian ships, honestly. The Canadian ships really stand out to me.
They're very nice.
Oh, yeah. The Orca Hunter submarine is nice, too. I quite like that.
They're Canadian, Bruce. They're very nice.
I get it.
Okay.
All right. And then the other one is the Mexico Battle Fleet set. I think I have a brand new favorite in this game, and it's easily the Mexicans. So, remember what I was saying earlier about flight decks? Have a look at the Rowanki class. This literally has a lifting platform in it to lift up the ships. There's multiple ships in this. So it kind of takes your... what's the steamboats that America has?
Steamboats.
Are they steamboats with the big wheels?
Yeah.
Yep, okay. I was doubting my memory on what they were called. And it's just kind of taken them in a completely different direction. I really love this. It just feels so good.
What I like are the RC-52 Patriot Automata.
Is that the little flying thingies? Yes, it's the
It is the little flying
thingies.
thingies.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I can't
they're
disagree
cute.
with you on that.
They're cute.
Yeah, I love those. I'm definitely with you on that. I think I want the Mexican fleet. Just being completely honest, I think that's the one I want. It's so pretty. And then finally, I think this is the last one, we have the Ratage Battlefleet set, which is very, very, very different from anything else that we've seen so far. It feels very dwarven to me. I know it's not dwarven, it's just what it feels like. Because we have giant faces with cannons coming out of the mouths.
The portal ship is very interesting.
Yes. Where it's two ships that's been connected together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
It's very, very, very different. And otherwise, the only other thing is that there's a book coming out for Wild West Exodus, which is the first book we've had for Wild West Exodus for a while. So this is actually a novel. There's a little bit of a description here about what the game's going to be. What the book is about. So if you want to pause the video and read the blurb, you're more than welcome to. But we are going to move on
to Free League.
Free League. So, Free League, for those that are not aware, are the people that released the Alien role-playing game a little while ago. They do have other things. It's just that's the one that stands out to me because it's amazing. This is coming to Kickstarter on Tuesday. They are doing a miniatures game for their Mutant Zone Wars role-playing game. So the Mutant Year Zero universe has been around in roleplay form for a while. I have not played it. I have heard nothing but good things about it.
And that's not Howard the Duck.
No, it's definitely not Howard the Duck. Because look, he's got black feathers. Ooh, excuse me.
It's Howard the Daffy Duck.
It's also definitely not the Fantastic Mr. Fox with a gun. So a lot of this stuff is stuff that's very in line with what you would expect from the role-playing universe, from what I understand. There's also a video that we're going to play in a moment that shows off a few things. Boars, duck creatures, mutant humans. It's all kind of very, very weird and wonderful. I think my favorite is what looks like a robot cult. I don't know why, but I really like the robot cult. I look forward to seeing, because the campaign isn't live, all we get are these teasers at this stage. But I kind of really like what the direction that this is going in. It looks like we've actually got terrain that's been designed for the game, or at least terrain that has stuff bolted onto it to make it look like it belongs in the game. I want to see more of what I'm calling the robot cult. That may not be a robot cult, but it's what they look like to me. Any opinions, George?
Cool idea, interesting. It's not speaking to me.
That's all right. I was just curious.
So,
I think you might like this next one, though.
yeah, I already looked at that, and that's what the look of shock and awe on my face was.
I think it was a good year and a half ago now we covered these guys' previous campaign where it was a whole heap of ship miniatures that you could play inside of in role-playing games. They have a new one, and it's huge. I mean, this thing is massive. These things are also modular in the way that you can build them, so you can kind of put them together to be your own thing as well. But you can build them with multiple decks, going down into the ship. There's different types of ship. This particular campaign is for the Beowulf, which is what they're calling it. But there is other ships from previous campaigns that you can get as well. Really, really love this. I love that it's actually a ship that is also a gaming table. You couldn't play you might be able to play a small skirmish game on it, like Stargrave or something. I could
really see
like
you
this.
could do like a kill team inside of it almost.
Yeah. There is other things in the campaign that's been unlocked previously. I really like the blue ship there in the middle of the picture when you get to the Starholder pledge. The Chimera is kind of that feels very Fifth Element to me. There's lots of really, really fun things in this. I just love this idea because it's so unique.
Yeah, I was gonna say it looks very Fifth Element, very reboot Battlestar Galactica-ish.
Yeah, I can see that. The Beta Centauri is the one that I was talking about previously, by the way. As you're going through, you will see most of these are optimized for FDM printers, but there are some that are for resin printers as well. This is something that you would have to 3D print, so that is going to restrict some of you. Unless you have access, you don't necessarily need to have a 3D printer of your own, but you need to have somebody that's going to be able to print this for you. So if you don't have one of your own, you will be having to pay somebody to do that for you. The thing I really like is they're actually showing the rescaling options for this. So if you want to make it bigger or smaller, what that's actually going to mean as far as the weight of everything is concerned. Yeah, I really like this.
This is a really cool thing.
Yep. There is a video that you can skip through that I'm kind of skipping through on screen now. But yeah, they talk a little bit of how it was designed and how big it is, and Yep. It's all very pretty. Flames of War is a game that we don't talk about very much, but I thought it was time to actually have a look at some releases because, well, it's a historical war game and it's a very popular war game.
I was gonna say I'm not a big fan of it just because I'm not a huge historical gamer.
No, neither am I.
From what I've seen of it, it is a good game. The other game the company makes, I was very interested in because it's more my era, Team Yankee.
Oh yes, yep.
So,
but
anyways, yes,
we got a couple of new armored troops coming out. So this is a 15mm game. For those that are not aware, they are slightly smaller minis. 15 mils, I mean, it's quite a nice scale. It just depends on what you're into, I suppose. So the Comet Armoured Troops is 5 glorious-looking tanks for the British Legion. Not Legion, but we also have the Challenger Armoured Troop. I think I prefer the look of the Comet personally, but it's not really a matter of what you prefer the look of. These are historical vehicles. What you think of them doesn't matter. The Jeep, I want to say the Jeep Recce, which is an SAS section
Reese?
anyway. Reese. And the Beauforts. The Beauforts don't really do anything for me. But as I said, this is a historical game. What you think of the way things look isn't actually the important thing. The thing is you've got to make sure that the rivets are in the right places and so on and so forth. Yes, I know I'm making that typical joke that everybody always makes. There's some really pretty looking stuff here, honestly. Flames of War is made by Battlefront, which is a New Zealand company. To my knowledge, the only real miniature gaming company that comes from there. I mean, Battle Kiwi make a lot of terrain, but they don't have any games per se.
yeah.
I really like what they're doing on this. There's also previews here for other stuff that we're not looking at today. But Flames of War, if you're into historical stuff, is definitely one that's worth looking at. It's got a very good following. Pretty much globally. I was hoping to get some words on our actual historical gamer fan here, but we won't be doing that because he's lazy and he goes on holiday.
He's a slacker.
How dare people take time off from the podcast when it's clearly the most important thing in their life? It's just slack. You wouldn't catch me doing that.
Oh. We got to move on to this next one right now.
And is it because there's a Ghostbusters firehouse rather?
No. It is the second one, the Sundown Drive-In Cinema.
Ah, yes.
Do you know why?
Because it incorporates a tablet into it?
And you could have a horror movie playing on said tablet while you're playing this horror game.
Yeah, I love this so much. I don't know if this actually tells you what size the tablet needs to be. Yes, it does. So it needs to be an 8.5-inch tablet, which is, I'm pretty sure that's the size of mine. I need to buy this, apparently.
8.5-inch tablet?
I
would need a smaller one.
It's a standard tablet size.
Well, mine's not. Mine's standard too, but it's bigger than that.
Oh, okay. I love down the bottom it says that the iPad is not included. On top of that, it's also a really pretty looking set, honestly.
Yeah, I mean,
it's really nice. It's kind of modular in the way that they've designed it, sort of. I mean, modular is probably not the right word, but I mean, you can kind of just put this together. It's either all together with the sign off to the side, or you could have like this this cover further forward. It just depends on how you want to do it. And as all of their stuff, you can break it open and play on the inside. I really, really like this. But I'm a Ghostbusters fan. I need to talk about the Firehouse number 8.
fine.
Because it's the Ghostbusters Firehouse. Like, seriously, it's the Ghostbusters Firehouse. Did I mention that it's the Ghostbusters? Okay, I'll stop now. I really, really love this. This is a piece of terrain that we have seen done by somebody else before. but I think this is the best version of it that I've seen, and I mean by a large margin. The previous one was kind of designed as like a puzzle that went together that we kind of went, well, you could also use this as because it was about the right size for a 28mm war game, but this is actually playable on the inside. And I'm sorry, but Don't Look Back would really work for Ghostbusters really well.
Yeah, I mean...
Except they have to be incompetent, I suppose. Well, you're running from the killer all the time. You can't really... The rules don't really work if you're trying to capture them.
I mean, I understand they have a game that goes with this, but...
Oh, it doesn't have to be for Don't Look Back. You could be for anything.
No. I'm saying they have a game. You know, they design their stuff to work with this game. But this terrain they're doing is just so amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, we got the Metro Light bundle. We have that mall now. There's apparently some other Target compound thing that's massive.
Oh, yeah, that Target compound came out the week after when I was away, and I love that. It's really, really pretty.
I mean, this stuff comes painted.
Yep.
It's just the price you pay for the size this is, for the amount you get. Now, this is not like an open field terrain set for, $40K. It is not that kind of terrain. This is, a kill team. This is an Infinity. This is, that skirmish type terrain where, you need to interact with it. You need to go up to the third floor. Yep. They're killing it.
This works either really well for a role-playing game or a war game that actually does have some decent in-building rules, which there are a few, but there's not a lot because most of them only treat terrain as stuff that you walk around.
It's because Drop Squad Commander hasn't come out yet.
Yes, exactly. Louis, we want some news on Drop Squad, please. We would like that on my desk by Monday. No? Oh, I tried.
Does he listen like Lewis did?
I have heard from things that he knows that we've said. So I don't know if he listens all the time, but I know that he does occasionally. Last but not least, we have the Keaton residence, which is a really, really, really creepy looking house. Now, I know that this is supposed to be from a movie. I don't actually know what the movie is, though.
Yeah.
I recognize the building, but I don't know what building it is.
It looks so familiar.
Now, I apologize for that, because that's a failing on my part, because I know that I can see this, and I know that I should know what this is, but for some reason, it just doesn't click.
Drop it in the comments. Tell us what it is. Make us feel dumb.
I really, really love the look of this. Again, it all breaks apart in a modular way. Not modular. It all breaks apart in a way that makes it playable on the inside. It's really, really pretty.
Mm-hmm.
They are absolutely killing it with every single release. And every time it's like, well, last time we said that this was my favorite. I think the mall is still my favorite in the industry.
For me, it's a toss-up between the mall and the metro station.
The metro station is very pretty. I will agree with you on that.
That metro station, I mean, that's just, to me, that's a great, do a half-size game of Infinity, like shooting through the subway. That would be perfect for that.
Yeah.
And it'd be fast and it'd be bloody, just like a fight in the subway would be.
Yeah. And hell, you want to play Marvel Crisis Protocol? They're literally playing it on the table here at some point.
Yeah, for sure. So,
otherwise,
finally,
let's discuss an indie.
No, finally.
Oh, yes, that's right. You had something that you've added to the list that I don't have open.
My bad, but so I'm going to talk positively about this, and then I'm going to talk negatively about this.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
So, Cthulhu Death May Die, Fear the Unknown. It is a new standalone. So, I have Cthulhu Death May Die, and then there's Season 2. You need the first box to use Season 2. This is a new standalone version of the game.
Yeah.
It's got a couple of extra things that are backwards compatible with the original game, which they say makes it harder. Great. It's also going to have more episodes, more investigators. We're getting more elder gods. All good stuff. And we've already got 2 additional unlocked episodes for gameplay. Now here's where I'm going to step back on some negative.
And this is where I'm going to sit back and revel in the fact that I'm not the one that's going to say this.
Well, no, I'm going to say 2 things. One of the things you can add on is the Unspeakable box, which I spent a larger sum of money on than what it's being re-released for.
Mm-hmm.
Oh well.
Yeah, that's not their fault.
They're re-releasing the really big guy. It's going to be like this, like the Colossus. They've done their own separate shipping thing on to stop the sticker shock, like with Colossus in the Zombicide game. He has his own separate shipping. He's 180, and they're projecting his shipping to be 33 to 45 to most states for a miniature that's like 18 inches tall.
That seems fair.
Now, yeah. So now here's my where Bruce is going to sit back and sip on his beverage and be smug. You could argue this is a sequel. They've already proven that people love this game. People are still buying this game. People want more of this game. Why is this on Kickstarter? Why is this just not going straight to the retail shelf as a product that they're not going to charge a Kickstarter price for? They can just say, here's season 3 or 4, or whatever they want to call it. Here's full retail price. That way they're not having to deal with Kickstarter. They're not having to deal with discounting for Kickstarter or dealing with shipping issues or stuff like that. Just goes on retail, sell it, done. This should not be a Kickstarter project. This should just be something they've worked on and push into retail like any other normal company.
Especially when these are not actually Kickstarter prices. This is just a retail price. Are you getting a deal? Yes. I mean, you are getting a lot of stuff with this. You always do. There's exclusives here. Oh, no, sorry. I stand corrected. $30 instead of $35. Okay, nope, I stand corrected. I take that back.
The stuff that is going to go to retail that is add-on is at a discounted price. All the exclusive stuff that's going to be in its new version of the Unspeakable box that you get as part of the Kickstarter. So the Unspeakable box was, you got that as part of being the backer. Now you pay, $120 for it because it's old stuff, or you pay more for that because you missed the Kickstarter. So you do get that. So you're getting like an essential expansion for the game, call it $70. You're getting that for free as being the backer. So you are getting a deal-ish. You're getting that exclusive content. You're getting that at a slightly discounted price and stuff like that. All of this should just go retail shelf. This should be season 3. The other box should be called season 4. Done.
I definitely agree, because this has exactly been my point for over 2 years now.
But I am so excited for this to be coming because I love this game. Sam and I are actually in the middle of a game. We have just interrupted the ritual to summon the black goat of the forest, and we're starting to kill him. So,
yeah. Look, this is the product that, like you said, it's been very, very popular. It's been very, very successful. CMON have certainly taken a hit recently with prices of shipping, which is outside of their control. Sorry, I know that's not a popular opinion, but it's fact, unfortunately. From everything that I've heard from the industry, and I mean the shipping industry, it's unlikely that we will ever go back to the world that we used to live in.
Yeah.
That is what I've heard from the shipping industry, that it's unlikely that it will ever go back now. Certainly not to the cheap place that it was, because the industry had been needing to fix it for a long time, and COVID just gave them a reason to do it. There is zero talk of the postage industry ever going back to what it used to be. Sorry,
So
but
yeah,
it's just the way it is.
no, you're absolutely right. When it comes to it, I'm gonna all in this probably just because, like I said, I do love this game. This was my number one pick, a favorite game when we did our top tens. It is gonna have to take a really awesome game in my opinion to knock it down. It's easy to pick up, it's easy to play, it's fun to play. Like I said, my 15-year-old, with autism son loves this game. He thinks it's great,
Which is good.
Yeah, I'll take that as a win any day. Now, if I could just get Casey to play it too.
All right. Shall we discuss an indie?
Indie.
Yeah, we'll do
Definition. Independent. Type. Slang word. Jargon.
All right. So we are talking about a company called Morton today, or Mortion. I'm not 100% sure on the pronunciation there. These guys sell a number of different things. I want to start by looking at the vehicles because they're really, really pretty. And I want to start by looking at vehicles with legs because it's a tank with legs. I shouldn't need to give any other explanation as to why I want to look at these things. They've got medium, heavy, and super heavy. I'm just going to start with the medium because there's obviously going to be multiple things here. I could sit here and look at all of this stuff for ages. We've got a transport. We've got another one that has a fixed, a fixed turret. We've got another one that's got a rotating turret. Like, these guys have been going absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
And I haven't even gotten to anything else yet. I'm only looking at vehicles. I'm currently on screen showing the rotatable chassis. This actually feels like it's something that could work in 40k. Like, the legs look like they belong on an Imperial Knight. Now, obviously, it doesn't belong in 40k, but it's a really nice alternative. I was
gonna say,
really like this.
It looks very reminiscent of the six-legged walker from the Clone Wars series.
Yeah. Yep. The transport's really pretty too. I really like the transport, and I like the fact that they're showing it in scale with some other stuff that they've made, as long as a really boxing-looking mini. I really, really, really like this. If I go back and go into the heavy, which is the thing that it was being compared against, then we have the heavy crawler, which is kind of looks like a Land Raider-ish. I mean, it's not a Land Raider, but it kind of feels like it could be. It's got that opening door at the front and everything, like the Storm Raven does.
Oh, and with the artillery upgrade, it can have wheels too.
Yes. There is also wheeled vehicles that we will get to at some point as well.
Okay, I'm just going straight to the super heavy at this point now.
Yeah, that is ultimately where we're going. And it's just the one. It's just the Mortion super heavy war crawler. This is the one that stands out to me as something that you need to own, which definitely hasn't been painted to look like it belongs in 40k. Definitely not. Not with all of the skull symbonalia and everything. This is really pretty. I really like this.
I need a mini for scale on this,
I don't think they provide one on this one, actually.
Yeah,
which is a shame.
that's why I was commenting that I need one on this. This looks really cool.
Rough dimensions are it's a foot square and 4 inches tall. This thing's huge.
Four inches, that's not very tall.
It's a foot square.
To make it 8 inches tall.
All right, moving on. Moving back. I want to have a look at some stuff with tracks. There's also some stuff with wheels. I'm just kind of sticking because there's a lot on this website that we could go through. And let's just go. I'm going to go for the Morton track line. And for the Morton track hunter. Sorry, tank hunter rather. Because again, this is really pretty. It's really pretty. Again, feels like it could belong straight in here. So this thing is 3 inches tall. It's 6.2 inches long, 3.5 inches wide. So it's lemon russish.
Bigger, about twice as long as a Lehman Russ, same widthish.
So this is about the same size as the new tank then.
Probably, yeah.
This is older, so that's coincidence. But
They did it first.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. This stuff is all really, really pretty. They've done really, really, really well here. But I'm going to move on from the vehicles and start looking at some other stuff. If you go back to the front of the shop, George, and open up Cyber
Yeah.
Rats.
Hang on. Oh, okay, here we go. Cyber Rats. Not Future Skaven.
Definitely not Future Skaven. You could argue that this has also been done because, well, Mantic have a whole line of these guys. If you look into the Hunter line, we have futuristic looking Death Wheels, or Doom Wheels, sorry. And I think I prefer these ones over the Mantic ones. A little bit. Which is
I'm
not...
looking at the Cyber Rat Hunter Big, where it's like it's not circular.
Yep.
And that looks really good.
Yeah, I really like that as well. I like the fact that one of them has a sniper, even though, like, by rights, it makes no sense that a sniper would ever be in that vehicle. But it's just too much. It's too much fun not to. We also have Mega Rats, and this is going to be giant mutation-looking things. There is literally a Mega Rat, and then you have gunners and a character that rides on the top of it. So I guess this is an alternate for... You can't say it's Thanquil because... Thanquil and Bone Ripper because, well, it's completely the wrong scale. Well, not
I know
scale,
those names.
It's the giant rat that has a wizard riding on top of it.
Well, I know those names. I'm listening to Skaven Slayer right now.
Oh, right, okay. In fact, where is my Thanquil? He's over there somewhere. I don't know. I have Thanquil somewhere. I must have put him on the other shelf. These guys do some really, really pretty looking stuff. I'd also opened up like the Drop Troopers. They have a whole line of terrain as well, but I'm not going to be going through that because there's just too much here. So your Drop Troopers are essentially, it's your cavalry pretty much. You've got heavy weapons teams down here. You've got a walking heavy weapon, which is literally a giant turret with legs. It's like an STS. It's like an ATST, but there's no body. It's just a big gun. I'm sure he's not compensating for anything. It's so silly. Walking heavy weapon up the top on Drop Trooper, George. It's the silliest looking thing I've ever seen, but I mean this in a very positive manner. It's just so dumb. And I have all of the time for this in the world.
Which one in the Drop Trooper?
Walking heavy weapon.
Oh my god.
It's so silly. It's just so stupid, and I love it.
Do you know what this looks like?
Well, I did make
This
comment,
looks like...
I did make a comment about how I'm sure he's not compensating for a reason.
No. What's the name of the little bouncing light from the Pixar logo?
I don't know, but I know what you're talking about.
You know, he squishes the eye, right? This looks like him after he got drafted.
Okay, yep, I can see that. So there we go. That's Motion. mortian.shop. Came across this randomly last night while I was looking through stuff. There's a lot of stuff on this website I haven't looked at today. So if you like any of this, if you're looking for alternatives, 40k or other stuff, but a lot of it's kind of leaning in that direction. They do sell STL for a whole heap of stuff as well. So
what I like about the stuff is the price of this.
oh yeah, it's all very competitive.
With the exception of that super heavy, which was massive, everything else is pretty reasonably priced for what I've seen.
Yep.
Because like I'm gonna run back to the vehicles real quick. We'll go to the no. Oh, too far. I'm going too fast. I clicked too much.
That's all right.
I'm just gonna look here at the heavy crawler again.
Ah, yep.
Yeah, the heavy crawler's $55.
Yeah,
Like,
which is just insane.
that's nothing. Like the super heavy. Okay, that one's like 217. But yeah, the rest of it's all pretty reasonably priced stuff. So I like it.
Yeah, I'm a fan as well.
Trim, glue, prime, paint.
So, George, you said you had quite a bit of hobby to talk about.
Well, not quite a bit, but I did some stuff, and I discovered I have a cool new way to show it off. Are you ready?
Yep. You're upside down.
I can't do anything about that.
All right. I guess we'll forgive you this time.
Well, the new
there we go. It's fixed.
I finally I've settled on a color for my Shaltari, if I can like move in the direction I need to. So this is one of the Vallejo shifters. It's the blue purple shift. I cannot get the blue shift to show up under my light right now.
I can see it. I can see it a little bit.
Yeah, but I used the All Clad 2 lacquer, which was you need to be really careful with that stuff. You will ruin a paintbrush with that in a heartbeat. It took me, I'm not exaggerating, 3 days to fix the air valve from sticking.
Oh, awesome.
Right? Doesn't stick now though, so. But it is an extremely glossy paint, which that's what the shift colors want.
Yep.
And so it's turned out quite well. The other one, I just sprayed this up today. This is a Turbo Dorks color. It is called Supermassive. They claim it is the darkest color shift on the market.
Very
so
pretty.
It goes,
I don't know if it is actually the darkest or not, but it's very pretty.
Well, it goes from black to dark red. And on the very edges, it's on some edges you can see a slight yellow.
Yeah. Yep, I can see that.
So, again, I think I found the ultimate perfect color for my Fire Slayer Magma Droth here.
Well, it's only taken you 2 years to decide on what you wanted.
Right. Well, initially I was doing
longer than that.
I initially went with the gold yellow and thought, yeah, that's good, from Green Stuff World. But then I was looking through and I was like, ooh, this could look good, and it does. It looks very good. So, now that being said, I as cool as that All Clad 2 is, I've got some Vallejo gloss primer coming for airbrush.
Yep.
Because I don't feel like cleaning my airbrush like I did this last time.
Vallejo, the Vallejo gloss is what I used for my Scourge, and it shows up quite well. So worst case scenario, if you found that that's not glossy enough, I mean, I found it worked really well. But if you found it wasn't enough, there's nothing that says that you couldn't go and get a super glossy varnish to go afterwards.
That's how glossy the All Clad 2 is.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't get much glossier than that.
No.
So. But it is a lacquer, not a acrylic, so
which is why
you
I
have to
wanted buy it.
be well. As long as you're quite particular about cleaning immediately after you use it, it's fine. If you wait 3 minutes, you're screwed, and you spend 3 days cleaning your air valve.
Awesome. Sounds like a really good thing to do.
But that being said, though, I'm probably going to next year be upgrading my airbrush because I found a Grex kit with the airbrush I want. It's a trigger pull with a side siphon, which I like a lot better because then you can change the angle of it so you can spray straight down a lot easier without spilling your paint. I found that kit for a mere $438 with the compressor.
The only thing I'll say with the side, because that's how I started in airbrushing, was one with the side, is cleaning those valves is a real pain. I found the one that I had blocked all the time.
So it's a pistol grip and it goes right into the side. So it pulls back here and it just pulls the needle back like the top feeder, but it's here on the side and it just goes in and blows out.
Yeah.
So that's what I learned on too, and it's super easy to clean in my opinion. A lot easier to clean than what I've got right now. So, but the compressor on that works so much better, so it doesn't have to have a reservoir, and it runs so much quieter that I could actually have a conversation while it's running.
Yeah, which is good.
So, currently in the middle of a Death May Die game with Sam.
Nice.
Oh, where did I set it? I set it out there. The Scooby-Doo game that I backed, that I got a while ago, he and I played that last week.
This is the one where one of them was Scooby-Doo and one of them was Looney Tunes?
Yes.
You still haven't filmed the unboxing for that you said you were going to.
I have. I just haven't gotten it edited up. I'll do that. But we got games of it in last weekend. And, oh my god, is it a good game.
Good.
So,
is it CMON?
Yes, it's CMON in conjunction with
Warner Brothers.
Warner Brothers. There's another company involved too. They all come pre-painted. But as far as a family game goes, this is so good.
It was the Looney Tunes one that jumped out at me.
Yeah.
From what I understand, it's the same game. It's just one is Scooby-Doo and the other one is Looney Tunes.
No, it was Looney Tunes and Teen Titans that were the same style, different IPs.
Yep.
Scooby-Doo game, completely its own unique thing.
Okay. Yep. Cool.
So, but yeah, so we sat down and started going through Nemesis Lockdown, and after about 20 minutes of setup, Sam's like, I don't think I'm going to like this right now. Can we do something else? And I said, sure.
Yeah.
If you're not going to enjoy this.
Nemesis is, as we found out while we were trying to, it's very, it's a game that you have to sit down and have time with.
If you know what you're doing, it's going to take you 2 hours.
Yeah. Otherwise, it takes a long time. It took us probably 25 minutes to set up before we started.
And you knew what you were doing. You weren't having to read.
True. Yeah.
So, Bruce, what have you been doing?
Well, as hinted at earlier, I turned 40 last fortnight, so that's why I wasn't here. It's the first time I've deliberately taken time off from the podcast since we started 3 years ago. I have literally been here. The only episodes I didn't make were the one where I slept through because there was one that I was only where I slept through because I was ill. And there was another
the interview,
yeah.
We did it. We did the interview, and you slept through. We just did audio only version, and
yeah.
But yeah,
so that was literally. I know this sounds like I'm big. It's literally the only thing that I've.
Yeah.
And I gave you guys a month head start. That's I'm not going to be here, and I just put the foot down and said no, I'm not going to be here.
Having turned 40 once in my life already, I totally get that. It is a milestone of life sucks now. I sleep wrong and I hurt the next day, or
I am so sore, but it has nothing to do with that. It's all coincidence. Anybody that did come across me at PAX will already know where I'm going with this. So, on my second day of annual leave, I had an argument with some stairs. And I sprained my knee. And I've been struggling to walk ever since.
Spoiler alert, the stairs won.
Yeah, they did. I missed the bottom stair, and when I landed, my knee went sideways. So I've done
So-
my
so-
MCL, the
so-
inside.
If this is your knee working like this, you went like this.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It's not the first time I've done it, unfortunately.
Yep.
But it's
Yeah,
taken me a
that's-
lot longer to get over it this time. So
Do you
I
know why?
spent 3 days on my feet, barely walking with a walking stick, which is why the footage that we have of PAX Australia was fairly limited, because I did say this in the video that I didn't get a single full day in. Like, normally with PAX, I'm there for the whole time, start to finish, except for maybe the last day where I'm kind of like, I miss a few hours because I've seen everything at that point.
Yeah.
I barely saw anything. I really had to focus because I just couldn't get anywhere. I was too slow.
So, do you know why
Thank
it's
you to
taking longer
everybody that almost bowled me over by not looking, by the way. I really appreciate the fact that you hurt me so many times. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Do you know why it's taking you longer to recover?
You're
You're getting old.
Some of it is because I'm a diabetic, and that is actually the way that it works. Some of it is because I was impatient and I went back to work earlier than I should have, and I work in a very physical work. I took 1 extra day off after my leave, and then I guilted myself into going back, and I've regretted it ever since. I'm 2 weeks into going back to work, and I really wish I hadn't have. So I will not be in work tomorrow because I need time.
Yep.
And it's a public holiday on Tuesday. My intention is to try to go back Wednesday. So we'll see. Hobby-wise, honestly, I haven't had a lot of... Well, I have had chance to, but because of the... I put my concentration into my 40th birthday. I mean, I didn't get drunk. I certainly got tipsy, and I enjoyed myself, but I'm not really someone that drinks to get drunk anymore. I have no problem with those that do. It's just not... if I get to a point where I go to get drunk, that's where I stop having fun. I just get to the point where I'm merry, and then I kind of just... I stay on that edge. That's the way I prefer to be. I was in a lot of pain that day because, again, I had done my knee. It was awesome. I'm really happy about that.
And that was just like right after your whole debacle with your license, with your driving and stuff too. So...
Oh no! It's even better. It's at the location where I was getting it fixed. It was their staircase. This is why I was so happy about it.
All right, should we move on to some game talk then, since your hobby time has been turning 40?
Yeah, no, look, I haven't, as much as I probably would have had time to get a hobby done because of the frustrations with all of that, I just haven't been in the headspace for it. I haven't had a chance. I did go to a gaming thing, not this week, but last, but I kind of just watched everybody else and then eventually hobbled home because I haven't been in the right headspace for it. I've been kind of forcing myself to go to things. I didn't go this week for a couple of reasons. I had bike problems, but also mentally, like pain-wise, I've been dealing, but mentally, I've really been struggling with this because I've had to concentrate so hard on making sure I don't hurt myself.
Yeah,
that I just don't have anything left at the end of the day. So
yeah,
I just haven't had the energy for it. So next weekend, I am playing games.
Talk nerdy to me.
All right, so I've set up a discussion point. This was going to be one of a couple of things. One of the original ones was like game mechanics and like things that we thought that we'd like but we didn't, or thought that we didn't like but we did. But I kind of thought I'd save that one for when we're all here.
Okay, I was all prepared to talk about that, and then I was reading. I'm like, shiny syndrome. That's not a game mechanic. That's how game manufacturers assault me and my wallet.
Well, this is shiny syndrome is something that a lot of people talk about without actually explaining what it is too. Which I think to people that are new to the hobby get confused, even though I can guarantee all of you know what I'm talking about, because it's walking into the shop and seeing something that you want, that you shouldn't buy, but you buy it anyway because, it's pretty, and I need to have it because it's shiny and it's new. It is literally how Games Workshop keep their customer base. Yep.
Shiny. Shiny.
I would also argue that it's not necessarily always a bad thing. I mean, it's certainly a bad thing for certain people. It has been a bad thing for me. I would argue that last year it was a really bad thing for me. I bought way too many things than I should have. And I've spoken about that before.
I think it's a good thing and a bad thing both. So I'm going to point a finger here. Someone named Jason James Grubb introduced me to.
I was waiting for this.
Some board game manufacturers, and one of them was on Kickstarter. I believe the game was called Onk. And I was just like, oh, hey, this is something.
You can't blame me for Onk.
Yes, you put it on the run sheet.
No, I didn't. You did. No, you put it on the run sheet after I had the rant about how tired I was of things being on there all the time.
Okay, it was still your fault because you I did not know about them until you did
try,
that.
Though. You had me right up until you said it was Unk, because no, that was you. You put that on.
Okay, so well, you introduced me to that game company, so it's still your fault. And so, I discovered Onk, and then I discovered Cthulhu Death May Die. And
you're welcome.
So I mean, yes, so that is the epitome of shiny object. I now have, in my opinion, my all-time favorite board game right now. I'm really hoping MD2 comes close to that. I've not gotten a game in yet. I actually just ordered a table for my space in here that folds so that I can have a proper 59 by 36 gaming table that will fold down to be literally this wide and then 35 long.
Nice.
So that can really tuck it, but it's a full on almost war game table size, but it can fold up and go in the corner. So once I get that, I'll be able to start doing a little more solo stuff, set up the game, leave it for a day, come back to it, keep playing, start getting into some of these cooperative games that I've done. Sit down and maybe learn how to play Nemesis better. Which. Another shiny object thing, this one game of the year, here's its sequel. Okay, cool, I'll get both.
Yeah. If I could make a suggestion, maybe try starting with Nemesis first.
Okay.
Just because, I know that Lockdown is its own thing, but Nemesis is designed as the intro, so it might actually help to start there.
That's fair. I'll look into that.
Yeah. For me, it's kind of the positive side of it is very much along the same thing. If it wasn't for that, I would never have found Don't Look Back. I literally found that looking for stories for us. And I had boxes of it coming less than a week later.
Yeah.
Now, that's not necessarily the smartest way of doing business, but I then discovered one of my favorite games. At this point, I don't even remember what it was in my list, but it was in my top 10. I think it was top 5 from memory. I don't remember. I'm thinking for our follow-up next year, we do our least favorite games. Games that
I'm not gonna jump on that just because if I don't like it, I don't touch it.
Well, that's the thing, yeah.
So
just because I don't know, I think it might be too early to do a new favorite games list. I kind of feel like it might just feel like it's repeating itself again.
I say if we were to do another favorites list, I'd say what has changed position, and if it's already on the list and we've already talked about it, we don't talk about it to the same in depth. So if Socks is no, it's still Twilight Imperium.
We could do favorite minis.
Yeah, something like that.
Fun.
So Don't Look Back was number 4 on your top 10 list.
Aha, thank you.
It's called Searching.
Well, yes, but I was talking. So yeah, the positive thing is that if you weren't tempted to try new things, you wouldn't try new things, and that's not a good thing. You would always have the same meat and 3 veggie meal. You would always have the same drink. You would never actually go out and find something new. If your friends wanted to do something you'd never done before, you would never actually say yes. And that is a fairly miserable life. And as much as, like, there are people in our lives that will turn around and judge us for the fact that we've bought a new hobby. And I know it's a very damaging... I'm going to point my finger at you guys now. And girls, for that matter. Those of you that are out there that talk down about your partner every time you buy something new, that is your fault, not theirs, for not having the conversation first. Is it necessarily a good thing or a bad thing? No. But A, you should never have to explain why you need hobbies. Or B, if you don't have the funds for it, you shouldn't be spending those funds. Or C, maybe try talking to your spouse a little more. Help them understand why it is something that's important. And maybe without arguing and targeting or blaming, try help them understand by comparing it with certain things that they enjoy. Like maybe they are someone that collects something, or they spend money getting something done that they don't really need, but they do it because it's fun or they enjoy it. Like there is definitely comparisons out there. Beauty products is one. I mean, that's a really stupid one to make. DVD collections, Blu-rays. Hey, I want to go to the cinema. There's comparisons out there to make. Talk with people rather than pointing fingers at them is what I'm trying to say here. Because I know some people out there are making those comments trying to be funny, but it's not a very healthy way to try to get through that frustration. That is not going to end well ultimately. Says the single man that doesn't have to deal with it. But at the same time, they are your partner and you're with them for a reason.
Sure.
Maybe try to remember that. Or maybe try to get your stuff sorted and stop venting about your frustrations in public away from them and talk about the problems with them.
Or maybe try to take an interest or like show support to it so that, you can monitor that a little more easily.
Yeah.
By being involved with it.
I mean, I'm just going to use, Casey does not have any interest in wargaming at all.
Nope.
In fact, you struggle to get Casey to play games with you. I know that she does play certain things. But,
yep. I'm going to attempt to get her to play the Scooby-Doo game tomorrow just because, it is pretty easy to pick up and it is fun. So, but yeah, it's, and it comes from backgrounds too.
Yes.
I think the exposure beyond, the what's in the board game aisle at Walmart and her family's favorite game called Skip-Bo, which the rules seem haphazard and made up as you go versus, some of the complicated stuff where there's 5 decks of cards that I deal with.
Skip-Bo is a game that shows its age.
Yeah. But, it's
as opposed to Cribbage, which is a very old game that, if anything, is possibly better now than it ever was.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's all about, where you come from in your background. I grew up as an only child, so it's I looked for stuff to do to, that I could do on my own because, well, I didn't have, a lot of, neighborhood friends, so to speak, and...
Some of us find this stuff later in life for similar reasons. I got into it because I had friends that was into it. I kind of stumbled into it to some extent. I was not a war gamer in high school or college. I didn't have the money to. We were not well off when I was a child. But I was very much someone that was used to making their own fun. I mean, I had a brother and a sister, but I was kind of I made my own fun. So I do kind of get where you're coming from on that front too.
But it's I stumbled upon a comic book store. I loved comic books because, it's comic books. What kid doesn't know about comic books, right? And they also had this weird game called Magic the Gathering. And, that's where everything started. And then, eventually, it did lead into, I discovered wargaming, but it was I was poor and couldn't afford wargaming. And then I went to the military, and then I discovered Dungeons and Dragons. Which usually it's like, that's one of the first things people find and get into, and then you get into all this other stuff. I'm like, nope, not for me. So yeah. And the other thing too about the shiny syndrome is what gets people to what manufacturers do to get that person to buy the game. Like,
yeah.
I think the great one of the greatest examples I've seen recently of shiny syndrome was Drop Zone Commander.
With the behemoths?
No. With the starter packs back when 2017. Because
that was such good value.
Was literally promoted as, buy this box, you can play a game because you will have 3 activation units. The other boxes also have 3 activation units. All the boxes are balanced. So you and your buddy, Games Workshop, right? Those battle boxes?
They don't work.
I'm going to use. So the first Age of Sigmar one, right? The Sigmarites always won. Or sorry, the Stormcast Eternals. Do you know why? Because their point value was about 200 more than the Chaos side of the box.
Yeah.
So that's frustrating. Versus the Drop Zone Commander box, and in turn the Drop Fleet Commander box. You buy that box, and that's on you of how you put it together. Beyond that, you have the same number of everything.
Yep. And they even provide a recommendation build so that it is actually balanced.
And so that was a new shiny, because that's how it was like, you literally can just buy this box and play the game. You don't need to buy anything else to play a simple game. It's like, for $50? Really? That's cheap.
Wild West Exodus does something very similar, where most of their starter sets are roughly, they're not balanced, but they're close enough that they're all competitive against each other.
Sure.
Which is good. But Games Workshop, and I'm not deliberately throwing shade here, although it's going to sound like they don't do that as well, and never really have. But at the same time, they've never really tried to do it well either, because it's not their business model. Because for them, it's about the collection, and getting the collection started.
I had a discussion with a buddy of mine about this a couple days ago. Of Games Workshop is not trying to they've never tried to do that, and they shouldn't try to do that. And this whole it goes back to the discussion we had about Votann with the whole they got nerfed before people even got them to their doorstep. Games Workshop is big enough, they don't need to worry about that. Let ITC worry about balancing, for tournaments. That's not what Warhammer is. It's not a balanced game. It's a fun game. Drop Zone, Drop Fleet, those are the closest to balanced games that you can do for tournaments.
Yeah, because they were designed that way.
Well,
Infinity was designed that way.
Yeah.
Malifaux was designed that way. Warhammer wasn't. Mm-hmm. Warhammer was just Warhammer is a game that was designed to have things thrown on the table. I mean, that's
sure.
Now, I'm not saying it doesn't make the game bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But the fact that there's a large-ish percentage of the community that want to do tournaments doesn't make up for the fact that most of the audience isn't that way inclined.
I would even say large.
No, I would say it's a large part of the scene, but it's not as big as it thinks it is.
Yeah,
it's like toys, like action figure. Like, I'm going to use Transformers as an example because it's what I know, and I know that we have JP that's into them as well. People like to believe that the collectors of Transformers or He-Man or whatever else is the thing that drives the market, but statistically, they're about 5% of the actual audience.
Yeah.
They are just their passion is very, very good and important to drive the business, but most toy sales still remain to be kids. Most Warhammer purchases are still a lot younger than we are. So it doesn't mean that we're not important. We are, but we are not the biggest audience.
Yeah. I'm going to backtrack a little bit on the tournament thing before we get back to the shiny thing. I'm going to argue that not even 25% of the community is into tournaments.
Okay.
I think
I will agree with you on that, because there's a lot of people that go to tournaments because they have to, not because they enjoy it.
Right,
I
because
am one of those people.
the small percentage of people that are into tournaments and want to play tournaments, they have such a loud, noisy voice of tournament this, tournament that, tournament that the store organizes a tournament. And in order for people to go play a game of Warhammer, they have to go play in a tournament. And that's why you see so many tournament players. I guarantee you, Adepticon, Bug Eater, like the big ones like that, those are the people that want to be there. If you go to your local gaming store to a Saturday tournament to play, I would argue at least a third of the people there in that tournament would rather be playing casual games, and they're only there to play games, and they have to do it in the tournament because the tournament is taking over the store.
Yeah.
So anyways, back to the shiny, I think.
Yes. The reason I raise this is because, look, I deliberately try to poke fun at you to try to get you to buy things. I've tried to do it with Bushido a few times. I definitely was doing it with
as soon as that army is on retail, I'll probably pick up a copy. I couldn't do it at the time.
The Fox one?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean that's fun and that's banter between us as co-hosts. But at the same time, one of the really best things about doing this podcast is it gives me a reason to go out and look. One of the worst things about this podcast is it gives me a reason to go out and have a look. Shiny syndrome is the best and worst thing that you can have all at the same time. And that, if you see something you want and you go and buy it, then you have it. Unfortunately, it leads to the other problem, which is the pile of shame. I know that my pile of shame is bigger than yours is. But we all have one.
Well, do you want to constitute all the miniatures for the board games I've bought as part of the pile of shame because they're miniatures that can be painted?
Could be, but you don't have to paint them. Depends on whether you want to paint them.
Because that's a pretty big pile of shame I got right there.
I have them too.
So
anyway, that was our discussion. I just thought it would be an interesting talking piece.
Yeah.
That people talk about shiny syndrome in a negative sense, but it's usually jokingly. And don't get me wrong, like shiny syndrome can genuinely be a problem for some people. Some people genuinely have impulse control issues. I think we're okay with that. I mean, I'm certainly probably more vulnerable to it than you are in that regard. But
yeah,
exploring things and discovering new things is one of the most fun things you can do in this hobby. I've said this a few times, and I don't just say this to hate on Games Workshop, because that's not why I say it. But try something outside of their wheelhouse. You are going to be surprised. Like, seriously. So, Games Workshop have good games. They aren't even in top 10 discussion as far as the industry is concerned, mechanics-wise. Most of their stuff, outside of maybe Warcry, is very old, despite the fact that it was only come out, last year. 9th edition hasn't changed that much.
Yeah, the last little bit I'm going to throw out before we get out of here. I think the best example of a shiny syndrome is when you can infect your little group with that shiny syndrome. So Dropfleet Commander came out.
That was us with Bot War.
So Dropfleet Commander came out. There was one guy in the store who initially backed it, and then another guy jumped on the backing, and then there was a third guy who backed it. That was it for the backing, right? It started showing up, and retail was hitting the shelves at the same time, which, we had that whole discussion of shouldn't have happened, but it did happen, which
it wasn't supposed to happen. It was,
was okay for my situation because I didn't pack it. I didn't know it existed, right?
Yeah.
So it went from 3 guys to the next thing I know, I think it grew to a max of 12 of us.
Yeah, we were probably about the same initially.
All bought Dropfleet Commander. And it was just like, this is perfect for a grow league. We're all getting into this at the same time. We'll start with this, and just add this much. That way we're not having to drop, hundreds upon hundreds of dollars at once, which, it's Dropfleet. You don't have to because, it's a pretty reasonable game to get into. But we wound up with, decent armies. We all got the whole, this is so cool. We've got battleships. And now there's 3 of us left.
Yep.
Two of the original backers that, backed it on Kickstarter. I don't know where one guy is. The other guy moved, and he's in a very heavy Warhammer community. Like he's into the tournaments and stuff like that.
And that's fine.
So I mean, it's one of those things. I think Shiny is great, especially if you can get your group to go in with you on it, because then it's something you can all experience at the same time. So,
we are going to go into upcoming events, but before we do, you want to follow through with this, because after upcoming events, I'm going to be talking something that some of our Patreons know about, some of them don't. All right.
Tournaments, demos, conventions, that kind of stuff.
The Gaming Verse in Box Hill is running, their Kill Team League Season 5 starts this Tuesday, which is Melbourne Cup Day, for those that are not aware. Yes, we get a public holiday for a stupid race with horses, but that's okay. We will not complain about that. That's taking place at the Gaming Verse in Box Hill. It's actually a good store. I've been there a few times lately. I do recommend it. The terrain building competition for Drop Zone Commander is continuing on the Drop Zone Commander community. If you are even vaguely interested in the game, you should be joining that community. It's a very good, positive community. We have Clash of Kings 23 launch event that is taking place on the 19th of November. That's taking place at Games Portal in Ringwood, another store that I would recommend. And then otherwise, we have PAX Unplugged, December 2nd till 4th. So, George, you don't know about, you might remember when I mentioned this maybe 12 months ago. We are going to be running a competition for our Patreon. And it's a giveaway that will happen on our anniversary episode. So it will be recorded on Sunday, the 2nd of April. And I will be giving away...
April 1st for the US, so it still works.
An entire fleet of Shaltari ships, including...
Is that a dreadnought on top?
That is a dreadnought on top. A starter set.
Classic.
And a box of frigates and a box of cruisers. Between now and that episode that releases in April, everybody that is supporting our podcast will receive one entry into the competition for every month that they have supported us between now and then. All of our current Patreon supporters, with the exclusion of one, which is me, because technically I am one of them. I think this is the first time I'm saying that publicly.
No, I think you've mentioned it before.
With the exception of me, for obvious reasons, everybody that's currently supporting us already has 3 entries as of right now. So, if you would like to be in for a chance to win arguably one of the most powerful forces in the game, support us, and it will be getting shipped out at some point in April. You can find us on Patreon, patreon.com/gettingtabled.
Facebook is www.facebook.com/gettingtabled.
We have a YouTube that you should be supporting us on. Subscribe to us at youtube.com/gettingtabled. Our videos at the moment are coming out weekly. Where can they contact us?
Gettingtabled at gmail.com.
Awesome.
Is where you can reach us for questions, comments, concerns, things you want to know, things you want to ask, things you want us to talk about, things you want to want to let us know about. Good Lord, I can't talk. God.
Twitter and Instagram is at gettingtabled.
And then our website, gettingtabled.weebly.com.
And then I have Twitch. I'm usually live on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I have been struggling a little bit with that lately on the Thursdays front for reasons that we just spoke about. But it's usually from 7 p.m. local time. Twitch.tv/Jason the Bruce.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For listening to Getting Tabled. Music used in this podcast was created by Eric Matyas at soundimage.org.
Get the Schultnanigans.